Hey, also, if you're the scapegoat in your family, raise your hand. No, so really, if you are the person who has been the scapegoat in your family, this video is for you. If you're not really sure what a scapegoat is, stay tuned so we can talk about that too. So when we're thinking about the scapegoat, this is the person that is trying to break those generational cycles, and that the people who don't want the cycle to be broken look at as the troublemaker. So that's the scapegoat. And if you're that person who refuses to participate in things the way that they've always been and perpetuate the patterns of the relationships that you are a part of, whether they be family, whether they be friendships, whatever it is, then you're probably scapegoating it out in this world. And if you're the scapegoat because you're the cycle breaker, it's going to be a lonely road, because there are people inside of that system that you're trying to break the cycle of who want the system to remain the same, because that allows them to continue to operate the same. And their safety resides in being able to operate the way that they've always operated. And so they hope that you'll just keep the system the same way. But you have children or you have other people that are relying on you to break the cycle. And so you say, I really am no longer willing to continue to perpetuate the situation, because I know that if I do it, then my daughters will do it, and then their daughters will do it, and everybody will have this toxicity inside of their environment. And I refuse for that to be so for me. But the thing that you have to remember is that you can't expect people who don't even know that there's a cycle that needs to be broken to understand your plight to break the cycle. That has to resonate with you. Because if you think that you're going to be a cycle breaker and everyone around you is going to understand why you're doing it, is going to praise you for doing it, is going to applaud your efforts, you are sadly very mistaken. And I know this to be true because I have lived it. When you start to break cycles, when you start to create boundaries, when you start to say no, when you start to shift the narratives and say, I'm not going to gossip about that person. No, you're not going to talk about my sister. No, you won't pit siblings against each other because it makes you feel better about you when they try to gain your adoration. We're not doing that here, even though that's the way that you grew up. The people who don't even understand that that is a toxic cycle will not understand your plight to do so. They will 100% see you as difficult. And guess what? You have to continue to be difficult in order to break that cycle. So while this video is going to be really short, that's the thing that I hope I can help you to wrap your brain around. You being the scapegoat, you being the cycle breaker creates a situation where you're probably not going to be liked that much. There are going to be people who weren't brave enough to do it before, who are like, applauding you and rooting you on in silence because they don't want to be the ones who are associated with breaking the cycle. So they stay quiet, but they're really happy that you're doing it because they know that it's needed to be done all along. But most people who have been a part of the cycle, who have been a part of the situation the way that it's always been, will want it to remain the same. So as the scapegoat, you cannot expect people who don't even know that there's a cycle that needs to be broken, who are so far void of self-awareness that they don't realize that part of what's harming them is the cycle itself, and they can't break free, so they continue to victimize themselves. Those people will not understand your plight to break it, and that's okay. Two things that we have to remember when we're the person who's trying to break generational curses and bondage and all of these things. The first thing is you're breaking this cycle for generations beyond you and for you. You're breaking the cycle so that you no longer have to be a part of it, the trauma doesn't fester in you, and so that your children don't have to experience the hurt that you experienced. So that when you break the cycle, you're no longer parenting them the same way that you were parented. You're no longer putting them in family systems that you were involved in. You're no longer having expectations of them that were also expected of you. You're standing up for them, you're being assertive for them, and you're teaching them how to do it too, so that this cycle no longer perpetuates, so that your grandchildren don't have to be the ones who say, well, when I went to grandma's house, she made me feel awful about me, because you refused to do so. The second thing is the people before you may combat you because of their shame. If you start to critique the cycle, you start to critique the way things have always been. There are people who, though they victimize themselves the entire experience, will push back against you because now you're talking about me, and now you're talking about my mama, and now you're talking about all these people. And yes, I am talking about them. I'm not talking about them as people. I'm talking about the cycles that they perpetuated, and I refuse to be a part of them. But that is going to create some shame for people who know that they had the power to also break the generational curse, but they were too scared to do so. And so you're doing something that generations of people were not willing to do. You're doing something that generation of people just sat back and watched happen and then did the same thing, repeated the same behaviors with their own children. So don't expect for them to applaud you and come running behind you as part of your support system, because you are now not allowing them to victimize themselves anymore, which puts them in a shame spiral because they cannot be accountable for the things just yet. Now, if they become self-aware, they may come to you and start being your support system, but prior to that, it just won't happen. So if you're my scapegoaters out there and you're really trying to break the cycles, I applaud you for doing so. It doesn't have to be a combative situation. You can set boundaries and say no and move in ways that feel in alignment with you so that you protect yourself and you protect your children and you change the narrative for them that wasn't changed for you. If this video resonated with you, make sure you go to all my socials and like on and follow on those pages, like and subscribe to this channel. And also, if this message resonated with you and you know that it would help someone else break free from the bondage that they're experiencing, remember, information kept to yourself is selfish, but shared with other people may just be the catalyst for the bondage that they need to break free from. If you find yourself in a space where you're trying to heal from the generational curses and the childhood traumas that you experienced, go ahead in the description and download my guide to breaking free from and healing from the things that you can't erase, so that you can help yourself work through the process to get to the other side of healing from things that you didn't create and you can't erase, but that you can certainly heal from. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.